On the issue of biological sex and this proposal with the Equality Act, where do you stand on it?
I would go far further. I mean, the Equality Act 2010 caused so many problems in so many areas since it was became an act and it became law. To free speech, the whole transgenderism thing has enabled that, which I never heard of really until about 2015. And when I first heard of it, I thought, this is a joke, isn't it? You know, people saying, like Monty Python used to joke about, people saying men can be women can be men. But it's just become mainstreamed. And now you can find yourselves in front of the courts just for not saying somebody's pronouns or somebody feeling as though they're offended by you saying that there's just two sexes. But, you know, where I stand on this is that there is no such thing as gender which is different to sex. This is a social construct that comes out of left-field universities developing critical theory since the 50s and 60s. And then this is just a crazy idea that has no basis in reality. But with the Equality Act, what Camille Badenoch is doing, I don't think is actually going to make too much difference, because there are 9 or 10 protected characteristics of which you're not supposed to discriminate on the basis of. One is sex, another one is gender reassignment. Now, sex means biological sex anyway. So if she just changes sex to biological sex in the Equality Act, it isn't going to make much difference to what it means unless she gets rid of gender reassignment as a protected characteristic. And she hasn't said that. So her changing that isn't going to make any difference whatsoever to the practicalities of the law.
I mean, the 19-page letter from Baroness Faulkner, the chair of the EHRC, is very interesting. I read it all. And one of the things which would be the consequence of this is that trans men would be allowed to use women's toilets. Trans men would be in women's wards in hospitals. Trans men could claim discrimination as women, but trans women couldn't claim discrimination as women. There's a lot of complicated implications of this, and some of
Do you think you can change your biological sex?
I think you can. You can become a trans man, or you can become a trans woman, and that's why gender reassignment.
But do you think you can change your biological sex?
I don't believe in these essentialist definitions that say you have to have a womb to be a woman, because women who have hysterectomies are actually still women. I think what we are trying to talk about is how do you prevent discrimination? And there are 240, according to the census, 242,000 people who are transgender in the UK. It's 0.5% of the population. A very small number of people. They have rights and they shouldn't be discriminated against. And what Baron Faulkner says, what the EHRC say is, the issue should be considered, and it goes through all of the complicated facts. Some of the issues it raises, I don't think are for a government to deal with. I don't think government should interfere in sports regulation. Sports bodies regulate their sports. Cricket's regulated by the cricket body, football by the appropriate authorities. They should decide, and sports authorities are deciding, to move to a situation where people who've gone through adolescence and then identified as women can't actually compete in women's sports. I think that's right. I think it's for the sporting bodies to deal with. And one of the cases, she says it might be that a women-only book club could be accused of discrimination. Again, book clubs are organised by people privately. They're not actually things against which you can seek a discrimination. So some of it's made up and flammed up, in my view.
David.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with that, I mean, you could, because under the Equality Act, you know, what about women-only gyms? You know, they discriminate against men. There aren't really men-only gyms, so they don't exist. You know, what if a woman wanted to join a men-only gym? Would they be able to take them to court or whatever? There's all these kind of legal questions that come up. But essentially, you know, when there is no such thing as a trans woman, and saying trans women are women is just not correct, because they're a man. Men with male reproductive organs, or who had male reproductive organs who had them surgically removed, it doesn't make them a woman. And same with a woman. And what I think is absolutely appalling is that people are going into schools and teaching kids this kind of thing, and girls are getting their breasts removed then there's, you know, having breast removal surgery and then sort of trying to become male, but they're not male, they're still women and they can never be male. It works both ways. So I think, you know, we need to get away from this idea that gender is something that is real. There is gender dysphoria, which is a severe mental illness, and people need help to get over it rather than to have this mental illness affirmed